The Strait of Hormuz, a narrow choke point for one-fifth of the world's oil. Here, naval powers converge, guarding the flow of tensions, as it were. There is a place on Earth where a single military incident can immediately affect the price of gasoline, transportation, food, and even the stability of the global economy. That place is the Strait of Hormuz, a relatively narrow maritime corridor located between Iran and Oman, through which a massive portion of the world's oil supply flows every single day. Strait of Hormuz. But why is this location so strategic? Why does the entire world become alert whenever tensions rise in this region? Today you will understand. The Strait of Hormuz is vital for the global economy. Military tensions here can escalate into conflict. Many countries depend on this route for energy. A conflict here would affect the entire planet. The Strait of Hormuz connects the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman, which then leads to the Arabian Sea and the Indian Ocean. It sits between two territories, to the north, Iran, to the south, Oman and the United Arab Emirates. At some points, the strait is only about 33 kilometers wide. Even more striking, the navigation lanes used by the massive oil tankers are only around 3 kilometers wide in each direction. This makes it a true choke point of global energy trade. The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow but vital corridor for global trade. Roughly 20% of all oil consumed in the world passes through this narrow corridor every day. This makes it one of the world's most close to 20 million barrels of oil per day. And it is not just oil. The route also carries liquefied natural gas, petrochemical products, and refined fuels. Strait of Hormuz. Major exporters that rely on this route include Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, United Arab Emirates, Qatar. These nations produce a huge share of the energy that powers the world economy. Without this passage, oil shipments would need to travel much longer and far more expensive routes. Several of the world's largest economies depend heavily on energy shipments passing through this corridor. The Strait of Hormuz. Countries that depend on the strait include China, Japan, South Korea, and India. These nations import enormous quantities of oil from the Persian Gulf. China, for example, is one of the biggest buyers of Middle Eastern oil. Europe also receives significant energy supplies from the region. The Strait of Hormuz. Countries that depend on the strait. Even the United States, despite producing large amounts of oil domestically, is affected by global oil prices tied to this route. In other words, any disruption in the Strait of Hormuz affects the entire planet. What is happening now with regional tensions? Tensions are escalating, threatening global oil supplies. Whenever tensions rise between Iran, the United States, or Israel, the Strait of Hormuz instantly becomes the center of global attention. A vital passage for Iran has repeatedly stated that it could block the strait in the event of a war or severe conflict. Such a blockade could happen in several ways: naval mines, attacks on oil tankers, military drones, coastal missile systems, naval blockades. And this is not just theoretical. In recent years, there have already been attacks on oil tankers, seizures of commercial vessels, military exercises, armed naval escorts for shipping. Each of these incidents immediately alarms global markets. Strait of Hormuz. What would happen if the strait were closed? With a major portion of Hormuz were completely blocked, the consequences would be immediate. First impact would be a surge in gold prices. With a major portion of supply suddenly restricted, oil markets would react quickly. This could lead to rising gasoline prices, lead to higher transportation costs. This drives up food prices and contributes to global inflation. The second impact is major disruptions to global supply chains. Shipping companies would have to reroute vessels through much longer paths. The third possible consequence would be military intervention. Countries such as the United States, the United Kingdom, and France. The Strait of Hormuz, a military operation, could secure shipping lanes and reopen navigation, but this move risked escalating tensions further. The stakes in this waterway are immense. It is not only the sea that becomes dangerous during regional tensions. The airspace over the Persian Gulf is also highly sensitive. Strait of Hormuz. Airlines often change flight paths when military tensions increase. This happens because of risks involving missile activity, military drones, and armed conflict zones. These risks force airlines to redirect flights, increasing flight times and operational costs. Because of its immense strategic importance, the Strait of Hormuz is one of the most heavily monitored and militarized waterways on Earth. Naval forces from several countries operate in the region, including United States, United Kingdom, France. Alongside the military forces of Iran, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, warships constantly patrol these waters to ensure the safety of global shipping. Their mission is simple: keep the flow of international trade moving. Why Iran has strategic advantage. Geography gives Iran significant influence in this region. The country controls much of the northern coastline of the strait. This allows it to position radar systems, missile batteries, naval bases, surveillance installations. Iran's strategic position gives it the ability to monitor and potentially threaten shipping lanes. Even without closing the strait, the mere possibility of disruption can shake global markets. The Strait of Hormuz is far more than just a shipping route. As a global power lever, it can be used to exert immense influence over the world's energy supply. The strait as a global power lever. It is a pressure point in global geopolitics. Here, the interests of energy security, international trade, military power, global influence. The Strait of Hormuz, a global power lever. Every political statement or military movement in this region is closely watched by governments, corporations, and financial markets. On a map, the Strait of Hormuz may appear as just a thin line of water, but in reality, it is one of the most important arteries of the global economy. Through this narrow corridor flows the energy that powers industries, transportation systems, and entire national economies. Any instability in this region can ripple across the entire world. That is why when tensions rise in the Persian Gulf, the whole planet pays attention. Because in this narrow strait, a single decision could influence the global economy. The Strait of Hormuz, a narrow choke point between Iran and Oman, is vital for global oil trade. Tensions here can disrupt the world's energy supply. If you enjoyed this, like, subscribe, and comment your location to help us continue. Subscribe to the channel, share this video, and comment below which city you are watching from. Your support helps this channel continue bringing deep, informative content about the forces shaping world.